and welcome to my mini review of the 2020 Ducati Monster 1200S. I say mini review, normally I'd spend a week or so with the bike and really get to know it in different environments. Now with this bike I had just a few hours, but that's given me enough information for this sort of first impressions review video, if you like, hence the mini review. The 1200cc V-twin engine at the core of this bike has been used in many guises across the Ducati range. Here it's tuned to 147 HP and 124 Newton meters of torque. Both the 1200 and the 1200S models come with LED lights as standard. They also have 3 riding modes: Sport, Touring and Urban. And amongst other things, what they control is the ABS, the traction control and the wheelie control. All the settings can be seen here on the TFT screen, which I've got to say is probably amongst the best that I've seen on a bike. There's no superfluous information on here at all, and it's very clear and easy to read when you're out on the road. The differences between the 1200 and 1200S are fairly straightforward. First off, you get Ohlins suspension, which is fully adjustable on the front and rear, Brembo front and rear brakes, a quick shifter, and you get different wheels as well. Now there is a premium to be paid for that. The 1200 will set you back £12,000, whereas the 1200S is an additional £3,000, okay, so that's £15,000. £3,000 on top of a bike that shares 95% of its componentry might seem a lot of money, but if you look at any model across any range, as soon as you add Ohlins adjustable suspension and Brembo brakes, the price goes through the roof. You just have to look at the Honda Fireblade that I reviewed recently, the SP one, with that price, adds thousands to the sticker price of that bike. The bike weighs 182 kilos, which is reasonably light, and it's got a very low seat height actually. Well, it's got an adjustable seat height. You can go from 795mm up to 820mm, so you certainly don't need to be put off by the fact that it's got a big engine. You don't need to be tall. I'm average height and I could easily get both my feet on the floor, and it was very, very easy to manoeuvre. I mean, I don't think anyone would find it intimidating, let's put it that way. Now this bike will apparently do 150 miles an hour, although with that lack of wind protection at the front, I can't imagine that would be very comfortable. It would be like an Ewok hanging onto a speeder bike. I wouldn't want to do anywhere near that speed on the bike. It would be very, very uncomfortable, but you know, it will do it. Now, I rode the 2020 model edition and the 2021 remains unchanged. However, I am expecting some changes for this bike further down the line. In the rest of the range, they used to have a 797 and an 821 Monster, the smaller versions. Cheaper, less power, etc. They've done away with both of those and replaced it with one model, the 937. Okay, which has more power. It sits between the 821 and the 1200. It has more power than the 821. Obviously, it's a slightly bigger engine, but it's more expensive as well. So that's coming in at just over £10,000. And you'll see here they've changed the design philosophy. So the Monster was kind of famous for having that trellis framing that you always see on the bikes, painted in the same colour as the tank, etc. They've done away with that, as you can see here. Sadly, they've also done away with the single-sided swing arm, which is, I love to see single-sided swing arms on bikes. But the 937's done away with that. Now, what's to come for the 1200, I don't know, but I guess the design philosophy will follow along these lines at some point. So, what's my overall opinion? What's my summary? I really like it. I didn't expect to like it anywhere near as much as I did. I was a bit ambivalent about the bike, shall we say, but I really, really liked it. I actually caught myself absent-mindedly looking at prices not too long ago, so that gives you some kind of indication. The engine's brilliant. It really is fantastic. I've got a 1200. I ride as my own bike, the Multistrada 1200S, which again is in a slightly different state of tune, but it's just a great engine. And it remains so here in the Monster. The handling's very good with that Ohlins suspension. I live out near the countryside, lots and lots of bumpy roads around here, and it copes with them really well. Very impressed with that, as I am always when I ride a bike with Ohlins suspension. Top marks there. Thing that will let it down slightly. I mean, I really struggle to come up with any negatives. Pricing, you could say pricing is quite expensive. And the other thing, maybe the sound. I mean, The 1200 in my bike, I mean my bike's an adventure bike, a touring bike. It's a little bit muted, even with the aftermarket can on it. But that's not a Monster. A Monster's supposed to be a little bit outlandish. I expected it to be a bit throatier. So certainly, if I had one, I'd be looking at putting an aftermarket exhaust on it quite quickly. So where does it sit in terms of rivals? If I look at a couple of naked bikes that I've ridden recently in terms of a comparison, if I start with a Honda, the CB1000R. Now, that's got a smaller engine. It's a 4-cylinder instead of a V-twin. So it puts out less torque, but it actually puts out about the same amount of power. It is, however, 31 kilos heavier. And it comes in about the same price as the non-S Monster, but it's not a bad bike. But the Monster's better. I'd have to ride them back to back. I'd have to ride the non-S back to back with the Honda CB1000R. But certainly from my memory of riding both, that I would plumb for the Monster. Now the other one that I rode much more recently was the Suzuki, the GSX S750, which is a fantastic bike. You'll see my review for it on the channel. Now the componentry and such is of a lower grade here. You've got a small engine. 750cc engine, 4-cylinder again. So in terms of power output and such, you're probably going to lose about 30 brake horsepower. However, it's £8,000, and the value for money on that bike is super. You bang for your buck. I really, really liked that bike, as I do this Monster 1200S. But you're talking a step up in terms of financial outlay. So there you go. I hope this was interesting for you. My mini review, my first impressions of the 1200S. I'd love to spend more time with it. I really, really would, because I certainly fell in love with it in the couple of hours that I had it. If I get a chance to do that, I'll do a more in-depth review. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you next time.